What up, everybody? It's Stuart
and Stephanie,
and we're doing something new. We're starting a new series called
Single vs. Married. Single!
And it's funny, it's like one of those things where everyone is either looking to be in a relationship or they're in a relationship and they're like, do I want to be in this relationship? Or they're just like the super happy married person giving advice to the singles.
Right, and it's always that thing, the grass is always greener on the other side. There's benefits and there are cons and pros to everything.
Yeah, and it's always about finding your mate, finding the significant other. And a lot of times I think a lot of people feel pressure that they need to be in a relationship when they're actually very happy as a single person, but they guilt themselves into feeling bad. And it's like, if you're a Samantha, Sex and the City reference,
be a Samantha.
So we have a shout out to the fabulous Luciana. So this caught my eye this
superstar
morning.
bloggers.
So Luciana posted, she was like, and then we'll talk about this whole, I'm sure you guys have seen
The Crazy Hot Matrix by Dana McClanahan.
And you actually wrote a blog about it. So basically it's talking about all the different zones that women are in and what zone a guy should pick his wife from. So Luciana says that she wakes up this morning and gets a text from a guy, and she'd been on the date, drank a bottle of wine, like didn't even remember the date, and got a text saying that he thought she was in the wifey zone.
And she's like, what?
She's like,
how
really?
How can that be wife zone? I mean, truly and honestly, but my question was, I couldn't figure out if the guy was being sarcastic. That could have been a joke that she didn't catch on to.
Luciana might not have caught on to
Yeah, because when I read it, I was like, that could have possibly been a joke. Like,
oh my god, that's really funny.
Who puts that out there unless...
Well, it's okay, so for those of you, if you haven't seen it, just a quick breakdown. Stephanie wrote an article, so break down to them the different zones.
So basically, it's a scale of how hot you are and how crazy you are. The crazy starts at 4 because they say that girls are...
All girls are at least a 4.
And then the hot goes all the way from 1 to 10. So it's this whole matrix, and I'm sure you've seen it. It was everywhere. And it's basically, there's the no-go zone. So, like, if you are under a 4 or 5, you should just never be dated. So
yeah, you can't,
make sure
you can't be ugly and crazy, basically, is what he said.
No, you just can't be ugly in general. You can be ugly and crazy, but you just can definitely not be ugly.
Yeah, but you know what?
We know that's not real.
But we also know that guys will say that kind of stuff and then secretly sleep with girls that they don't want their friends to know about.
Or end up marrying that girl. Like, at the end of the day,
she's a wonderful girl.
At the end of the day, it's the compatibility and actually a 5 to you could be a different 5 to me. Like, I've dated a guy who I think is a 10 that other people probably think is a 2.
I know, it's relative to your own personal taste.
I agree.
But the best part about this video is the danger zone. So women that are strippers, hairstylists, have red hair,
and
what was
have
the
name Tiffany.
Tiffany.
Which I made a whole blog about because I'm like, oh god, my name's Stephanie, which is close to that. I do have red hair kind of sometimes. Yes, okay, my hair's red. But the thing when I wrote when I wrote my blog, I actually really thought about it, and I'm like, I have been in the danger zone, and it's not because I'm crazy. I may be a little loopy sometimes, and I may have very strong opinions, but it's because I had worked, a relationship happens, I meet someone I like, and then I jump and I go forward way too quickly.
I think that guys are way too quick to call girls crazy. Like, they're so quick to go, oh, if you say something or you voice your opinion, are you on your period? Is it that time? I hate the way guys will blame just a woman speaking her opinion or maybe standing up to them as we're crazy or we're on our period.
And you know what? Men are crazy too.
Yes, they are.
That is what men don't speak about so much, but men are crazy too. But I have to say the reason why I think I was in the danger zone is because I would have this spark, and then if you act on the spark, that's when the oxytocin's pumping. So you're basing a relationship off something that's not real.
Yeah.
It's like taking drugs. Like you feel that high, and then it's not based off of the truth.
And a lot of times, and I say this to a lot of my girlfriends, you're in love with the idea of being in love.
Right.
So this guy that you're crying over, it wasn't him. You just want to be in love, and that's okay, but you need to tell yourself that and not be like, I met the one, because guess what? If you met the one, you'd be together.
You'll know that you're with the one. And that's like one of the interesting things, like talking about women that are single, that are in their 30s.
Yeah.
I think, like, yeah, to be in a relationship, but also the way that my life is right now, I know with what we have to deal with on a daily basis, and sometimes it's easier for me because I get to go home and just have to deal with myself. When you're actually in a relationship, that person has to come.
You got to go home to another person. All of their problems are your problems.
Right.
In the same sense, all of their joys are your joys, but you can't just go home and have you time. Like, in a way, you have someone to answer to 24 hours a day. You have to make your decisions, not just based upon what you want to do, but you have to make your decisions with another person in mind. And it changes the whole perspective. I was actually reading this article, a shout out to a website I love called Mind Body Green.
Yes.
And it was about how women, they get engaged and they think they're so excited, and then the next day or they find themselves in the bathroom and they're crying, and they're crying uncontrollably, and they don't know why. And it's because when you accept an engagement, you're saying goodbye to your independence.
Right.
You're saying goodbye to your single self. So it's like, yes, you're starting a new chapter, but you have to say goodbye to the you that you are.
Well, that just happened this week on Mistresses, one of my favorite shows.
Really? I still haven't watched that show.
I used to watch the BBC version, so
Yeah.
watching the American version, very different show. But that happened. The Samantha character
Right.
got engaged, and it
Freaked
was to
out.
this wonderful guy, and she's still marrying him. But
Yeah.
it was to this wonderful guy. He was just fabulous. They loved each other. They had great chemistry. But she's been single for so long that she's like, oh my God, I am
Right.
giving up myself. I really am. And that's one of the things I worry about, because if I do end up with someone, which I will at some point, it has to be somebody that I'm completely compatible with,
Yeah.
so I can live my
I
life.
don't think anyone's completely compatible with anyone. I think you can be
You are
compatible.
probably right.
Yeah, it's there is no perfect compatibility. That does not exist. That is
That
a
is-
unicorn.
that is the unicorn.
That's a unicorn. Absolutely.
And also, that's the other reason why when you do get into a relationship, it is very important to have other relationships, because you cannot
Yeah.
get one thing from just one person.
No, and
Yeah.
these girls and guys do it the same way. Or all of a sudden you get married and the person thinks that everything that you do has to be together. And one of the most important things is you have to maintain your own personal identity.
Right.
You need to have your friendships. I've had too many friends that get in a relationship and a year goes by, you haven't seen them, you haven't heard from them. You ask them to get a glass of wine and they're like, oh, I can't, because they're sitting on the freaking couch watching Big Brother. Like, you
Even
have
though
to
we
still-
do that, but we do other things as well.
yeah, and girls just give away themselves. All of a sudden that relationship doesn't work out, and
And
they
then you
call
call
you
you.
and they want to hang out, and you're like, we're not friends anymore.
yeah, I don't
I
have-
asked you to do stuff like 30 times and you don't even get back to me.
I don't hang out with those girls. I
No.
cannot hang out with those girls. Those
You gotta
girls
cut
are
them
not
out.
in my life. I do have to say, most of my best friends are married, as you are, most of my best friends are married. But they all make time to hang out.
For their friends.
And I hang out with them with their husbands, and I hang out with them independently.
It is not healthy to spend every waking moment with another person.
No,
Like, it just...
doesn't matter who it is, whether it's your mom, your
It
best
isn't.
friend, your husband, your
No,
boyfriend.
you need to interact with other people, because
Yeah.
to grow as a human being, to grow as yourself, to just be the best version of you, you can't get all of that from one person, and you'll become dependent and you won't even realize it. You'll wake up and be so codependent on someone,
Right.
and don't do it.
So that is what I think the sum of today is.
Yeah. Be yourself. At 30 and 30, we always say you need to own it. So own who you are, and don't change who you are to be in a relationship. You need to stay true to you, because you might be able to fake it for a couple months, like,
But do you want to be married to that for the rest of your
No.
life? You really don't.
no.
So yes.
And you know what? If you're in the danger zone, it's okay. You'll get in the white zone.
I owned it, and you know what? Dana sent me a message, and he told me he knows I'll find my unicorn. So if Dana says it, I'm finding my unicorn.
And if any girls are watching, we would love to hear from you. Do you have some fun stories, or do you have some guys that you think are in the danger zone?
And also, for next week, give us some options. What do you want us to talk about? Is there anything you want us to address? We will address it for you.
So this is single versus married. You get the opinion of people on both spectrums. We're both works in progress. We like to consider ourselves experts, but we also know that we mess up as well sometimes.
Because, ladies, now we know
Now
better.
I know better. See you next time.
Bye-bye.